your moderator for this session, and we're going to be led by DG Sonia and DRR Mario. I know that they need no introduction, so we don't have a bio present for them because you all should know our DG and our DRR. For this session, as our presenter would have said, our host would have said, we're looking at thinking outside of the box. So we really want you Rotaractors and even Rotarians on the call to participate fully in this session because it will help us to move Rotaract forward. So without further ado, I would like to hand you over to DG Sonia and DRR Mario. Please remember that we have to come up with a creative way to present at the end of the session. So ensure that we have to ensure that we identify a scribe and also a presenter. So I will allow DG Sonia and DRR Mario to go through the next part.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. I'm now in the Rotary family. I'm not calling you Salandal anymore. I'm on to Cindy. So I just feel a part, I think more and more I'm moving to Rotaract. So thank you for that. Mario, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
Great. So let's kick this session off. Guys, who is in the room? And let's talk Hamper Drive and no one wants to go up for president, which we all know is the elephant in the room every time elections come around. Who's in here with us? A lot of committee members, I know, but I feel that we have some other serious folks. Onicia, I know before, has been letting me know that she can hear the raucous conference committee in my background. Who else is with us? Okay. Guys, it's not going to help you if I have to choose you to speak. So it's good if you can, 1, turn on your cameras, 2, identify yourselves and come on and speak. Let's get this session going, okay? We have lots to do in 40 minutes, 2 topics to cover. Mario, I noticed that your camera is off. Are you keeping it off?
No, I just had to step away.
Okay, because you know this DG don't like cameras off. You know that, right?
You know, neither of us like that. I just want to echo what I said at the beginning. Guys, you get out what you put in. If you don't put in some effort in your session, you cannot get the information that you need. This is something that has been happening from time and time again. And we want to hear from you guys things that are also the norm you think could help to curb it or completely take it away.
Okay, so guys, we are looking at 2 topics. Oh my gosh. We're looking at 2 topics here, 2 think outside of the box. A new and innovative way to do hamper drives. And how do we encourage people to go up for president and dash the taboo that being the president is a scary task. Tell me, who do we have in our room? I still not seeing too many cameras on, so
well, DG Sonia, even though I'm not really participating, I'm just going to give you what we did. It's not really outside of the box. It's literally right next to the box, but it was still kind of inspirational for our club. We would usually give out the typical hamper of either canned goods or you know, non-perishable items. But this year we decided to add an extra dimension of market goods to our hamper. Yeah, and it really made an impression, not just on the recipients, but also on the members. They were very, very excited. So we were all there.
When you say market goods, what do you mean?
Potatoes, tomatoes, chive, ginger, you know, everything that you would get in a market bag. it was really very exciting for us. So not so much outside of the box. I mean, it's right next to the box, but it really did work for us.
Absolutely. Those are, and you know, those little things make a difference to the recipients, because we all think that they want canned goods and non-perishable items, but when in fact they also want some sweet potato and some yam and seasoning, just simple things like that. That's fantastic. Who else has some other stuff that they have done? So first of all, in this group, since nobody, let me see who the brave ones with the cameras on. Oh gosh, Dwayne.
Seeing Dwayne Haynes, seeing Anna,
I see
Grayson,
Grayson. Woo, Onicia.
Onicia.
Oh gosh, well, I feel Onicia got to be the scribe. Onicia, you are the scribe for today. You're going to be taken down. Oh my gosh, Grayson has the baby. Sweet. Onicia, you taking down the notes. You're going to be the one who is going to present on these two items today. Yes, why not? Girl, that's the penalty you pay for turning on your camera. Because that's how, but listen, that's how it go.
Who's our presenter?
Okay. Huh?
Who's going to be our presenter? If we have a scribe, we need a presenter.
Anna's camera is on, so.
And that is voluntold. That is a presidency characteristic.
So it's Anna and Onicia. There you go.
I like it.
Actually, no, I think it needs to be a male and a female though. So Dwayne, I'm volunteering you. DG volunteers Dwayne and Onicia to be scribe, and Anna, you can make sure that they have everything proper, okay? That they have all the information down and that we're doing the right thing, okay? Because Zoom room 1 is going to be the one that licks it out of the ballpark, okay? No pressure on y'all. That's how it's going to go. Okay, cool. So we have, how do we manage a hamper drive? What's normal in the hamper drive? How do we go about hamper drives normally in our everyday business?
That's fine, Kimberly. We understand.
No problem, Kimberly.
Anyone has any input? I mean, a hamper drive has some very main points. If you're saying
it's also, you can be doing different hampers as well, right? So you can be thinking of the elderly, the young families. Tell me, guys, if I have to be calling everybody, we can have we having a problem.
Good afternoon, DG Sonia, Mario, Rotarians, Rotaractors. So as it relates to hamper drive, because that's something that Rotaract Georgetown, we usually have our annual hamper drives for our long-standing community service project. And what we realized that when we go, we would usually do an assessment, and then also we try to get feedback to know if whatever is placed in these hampers, if the receivers were pleased with it, or the next hamper drive, what they would prefer over what we would have given. And of course, we rely heavily on sponsors or persons given items to prepare these hampers. So we decided not to give only canned items, because usually when persons see that, you know, in Guyanese terms, it's be like, this is what you're giving us, or this again, or whatever the case may be. So we try to have both perishable and non-perishable items, but of course in small quantities, so as to ensure that, you know, everybody gets some. So the main items that you would use are day-to-day: flour, rice, sugar, oils, and then a few canned items that we know persons would actually use, because, you know, sometimes persons may contribute something that they don't want to use. So you're going to give us something to give somebody else that you don't want. What makes you think that they may want to use that too? So while it's a good initiative to distribute hampers, you want to ensure that what's in the hamper is something that you would also want to use in your household as well. So items that persons will gynae, stuff that they would use a lot. And I think having those perishable items, it's more useful. Of course, you'll have to use it out faster than the non-perishable, but I think the preference stuff like potatoes, plantains, onions, garlics, stuff like that, we would try to include. So that's just my little input as it relates to hampers. And as much as it's little, it's still thinking outside of the box, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So Kimberly, those are the things that people truly, because you have thought about it, and it makes a difference. They appreciate, to me, they appreciate it more when you just go that extra mile, that you've thought of those little things. So it may be small, but they are so much more impactful and really making the hamper that much more special. Great, thank you so much. Does anyone else have?
Framework. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Mario.
Well, that's the basic framework for conducting a hamper drive. So now we understand what the basics are. How can we think outside the box and elevate that hamper drive? I know listening to Kimberly, you guys have to have some sort of ideas. It's not just for the DJ and I to give you the answers or what we think, but we want to hear from you. This is going to get your club planning and thinking differently.
Another element I wanted to add is that sometimes knowing the audience and knowing the person who you're going to gift the hamper to, you would have sometimes single mothers, you would have sometimes persons who have babies on the way. And once you know that, you sometimes, it's an indication that you could tailor the hamper to suit both family and that child or the baby as well.
Say that again to the people in the back.
Permit me to speak. I was gonna actually add what Dwayne was said, because I would have recognized because I'm from a Rotary Club of Georgetown Central, and I'm also part of Rotaract North Georgetown. But for us at Rotary, what we usually do, because most of the time when persons hear about hampers, the first thing that comes to mind is a food hamper. But what we would have been doing is also adding things like books. We would have added personal items that they could use, sanitary napkins for the females, pampers for the babies, baby supplies, etc. So it's not only giving a hamper that consists of food items, but you would also add additional stuff. And I like the fact that you would have mentioned that we could tailor it to particularly to the family. I know that we have COVID, we have persons that are not able to access the library, etc. So we can put like storybooks, crayons, and all of these things inside of those hampers and not only make it a food-based hamper.
That is exactly it. You're cooking with gas there. Because if you guys notice, the topic is hamper drive. Traditionally, when we think about hampers, we think about food. But thinking outside the box, we can do other hampers that help support those persons in our communities. Taking it far outside the box, we can do individually personalized hampers. So let's say instead of having just a blanket set of hampers for female reproductive health or for eating literacy in the community, we can have specific hampers tailored to those persons in the community that has an even greater impact. So you're impacting them and serving them here, but you can get to here by just adjusting and tailoring that a small bit.
I think something else that we could do, one of the issues with hampers is that packing of the hampers is always a thing. You know, I think if we get the same people who would have sponsored, if you have sponsored, say, hampers, or you have businesses that you usually work with, invite them to come help you pack hampers. So that way they could see exactly what you do with the funds that they would have donated or the items that they would have donated. So invite them to come pack, invite them to help distribute, or, you know, set up a center where people could come in to collect. So they get to see the appreciation that we see when we drop off the hampers.
So that definitely is an outside the box thing, because Normally, we get all the supplies and we as Rotary pack them, but involving the sponsors, involving the people who are maybe assigning us the names to come and see what is involved. How do we actually conceptualize this project from beginning to end is really good.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
The personalizing of the hampers as well, knowing your audience, knowing the recipient. We have some hampers here in Barbados that we do at Christmas time. And so some years we go and we don't know who the recipients are, but we know when we go that this is definitely a recipient who we want to make sure we come back to next year. So we take their information, we take the children's ages, because at Christmas time, you know, it's all about gifts, right? Food helps, but gifts make a child's Christmas. So we take note of the ages, and maybe we get sponsors to put gifts in for those children. We can't do all, because most of the people that we look forward, that we help, are needy. But there's some that you really know that things are hard, that these kids will not have a Christmas gift. So you go that extra, you know? Great.
I was talking, my mic was muted. We have a comment here from Melissa. Maybe making a number of hampers to donate significant. For example, if you're making hamper donations during anniversary week, 55 hampers to symbolize 55 years of service. That's a fantastic idea. I like tying that back to the organization, but I would also like you guys to take it another step further and tailor it specifically to certain beneficiaries that maybe have been historic throughout the years, maybe who have significant impact on your clubs for this year, etc. Even something as simple as finding people in the community who are turning 55 during that month or something to donate as well. Just tie it all the way back. But these are some
Kimberly
great.
has a really good. Kimberly has a good point here. Making the idea of giving, while the idea of giving is great, it is being beneficial that is most important. So definitely know your target population. Do assessments to ensure that your service is reached and maximized, and that feedback is important as well.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Any other, how do we think outside the box for Hamper Drive? Because we're going to have to move on to the next item very shortly.
Guys, anything else you want to add at all?
Just another point on understanding your audience. I had the situation of working with an organization where you sometimes have to tell people, be cognizant of religious beliefs as well. And around Christmas time, yes, you're giving as well, but you don't want to be that one person that gives the voucher for a ham to a Muslim family. So knowing your audience is important. And also, again, once you are able to properly package and track your movements, the impact is higher and the mileage goes a long way.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree with you more. Dwayne, I was doing a hamper delivery just a few months ago, and I looked in the hamper. It was sweet, a lot of sweet, you know, jams, biscuits, and cookies. And I thought, I'm going to an elderly person who in Barbados, most of these old people are diabetic. And when I got there and I saw her, she was an amputee as well. I thought, you know, boy, let me figure out how I am going to pull out these sweet things and promise that I'm coming back. So I just pulled out all the sweet things because she's by herself. It doesn't make any sense giving her those things because that is going to exacerbate a problem that is already there. And I took them out. She knew, she was none the wiser, but I went back with more things. Like I got some fruit, and I specifically at that point then got like diabetic glucerna and those kind of things, which I know she would have liked. And she says, well, how did you know? I said, well, that's what we do. That's how we do this. But knowing your audience and being able to adapt quickly makes a difference. So yeah, absolutely. Anybody else before we move on? So we have some really good ideas here. Hamper drives. How about the packaging? Is there any innovative way that we could use for packing the hampers?
DJ, if I may, I was actually going to add something when you hit on the aspect of packaging, personalizing it to make it more than just handing over a basket that is wrapped in plastic with a bow. Maybe adding a note or something of more than just the items within the hamper, something of substance, you know, something of inspiration within the hamper as well, because we would want to assume or to associate that given hampers, you usually give it to the less fortunate. So though they may, you know, feel great about having these items, what about the other aspects, you know, something to make their day better along that line?
Love it.
That's a great suggestion.
Love it.
What if I pose this question to you, President Kimberly? What if we did something different with the container that the hamper goods are coming in? Anything but a basket. What would you want to put it in? Something that is maybe reusable that they can use going forward. Something that is environmentally friendly and significant, something decorative that they can keep around.
Yeah, anything but a basket is great, but when you think about packaging hamper items, you need something that is sturdy as well. And depending on how many items you're going to give, I don't think there's much option for packaging, and of course not a cardboard box. So a basket, you can definitely reuse that. They can put fruits in it afterwards, or, you know, if they want to go shopping at the market or whatever the case may be. But maybe personalizing it, making it a bit more, the thought of it, make it look like you put a little bit more effort in preparing these hampers versus just packing it with items.
Mario, I saw that Melissa would have placed in the chat branded packaging. I don't know, Melissa, do you want to explain a bit more? Is it branded packaging in terms of putting their Rotaract logo, their Rotary logo, a team? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, putting the Rotaract logo. So it will have to be maybe depending on the type of hamper donation you're making. If it's grocery items, they can be go in grocery bags, branded grocery bags. They can reuse for future purposes. If you have any sponsors along the project, you can put the logos of the sponsors on there. Yeah, that's all those things.
Okay.
Those are also really good ideas, Melissa. But let's pose another scenario then. Let's say you're giving it to the less fortunate, someone that may be homeless or may not be able to store the things securely. Let's say we give them an airtight container that they can transport around as well. These are different things we can do to add value rather than just giving the hamper. Look at what you're putting in.
I recall being a part of a team. I think it was about 3 years ago when the northern side of Trinidad, and especially in St. Augustine, there was a deluge and a lot of flooding. most of the packaging for the item were buckets. So, because the person's experienced a flood, and again, water would have been an issue, access to water would have been an issue. So the packaging became bucket, loaded with items and distributed to families. And again, the bucket could have been used for water and other items as such.
Exactly. That's thinking outside the box and taking it an extra step. Even if it's a case that's not flooding like that, the same thing you have with someone who can't store food or who may not have the ability to store food safely. Those sort of containers go a long way. And then we're reducing our carbon footprint by giving them reusable stuff that's not just going to end up maybe broken down in the landfill, etc. after a long time, after a while, sorry. But I like, guys, what we're thinking about and what we're noting. So anyone wants to give a recap of what we've discussed so far about hamper drives?
Well, I guess hamper drives. The first thing I have done is assessment. So from assessment, what I have written down is that we have to assess from a previous hamper drive the feedback, like what the people is, what did the people want, what the people didn't want, because you have to give people what they would and what they would put forth into what you are putting into the hamper. You have to know who you are in the hamper to, and you have to know what your audience would want. You can also, other than having in your hamper, you can give other basic supplies like sanitary supplies and school supplies and clothing, etc. I have noted down as well, you can have literacy hampers, you can have sanitary hampers, you have personalized hampers. During Christmas, you can have gift hampers for the less fortunate children. Melissa also noted that when it has an anniversary coming up, you can make a hamper, make it significant, make it grand, make it bigger. So you'd have 55 hampers, example, for 55 years of service. You can donate a hamper to somebody who has turned that age. And I noted that someone in the chat said, while the idea of giving is great, it is being beneficial that is the most important. So yes, you have to give people, but remember one of our mottos is service above self. So yes, we are giving to the less fortunate, but we are not doing this for show. We are giving the people because we have morals in us that we can help out people who are deemed less fortunate. Right? You also have to give people healthy hampers. We know in the Caribbean already, we have a very high rate of obesity and diabetes. So you don't want to give people unhealthy things in a hamper to increase that type of things. Also, the packaging of the hamper, you can add a note, you can add a scripture for people that believe in God. You can add a quote, something to make their day better, because some of these people you are donating to maybe in a bad mental space, so you have something to make them feel better. Also, you can have branded packages, like you can have your Rotaract or Rotary logo on it. You have to make it look pretty. You can have your sponsor logo. You can also have airtight containers, reusable containers, so you can reduce the carbon footprint. So that is what I have written down.
Excellent stuff.
Great job, Onisia. So guys, we have just a few minutes to handle our next topic, which is no one wants to come forward to be president. So tell me how we're going to tackle that, because that's a real big problem. So we as leaders join an organization such as Rotary, but then when it comes to being the president, no one wants to put up their hands. So how are we going to tackle that in this group?
Well, I'm not sure because I am one of the people that needs help with that because I do not want to be president at all.
But you're the
Why?
perfect person to start with then. Tell us why. Why do you not want to be president?
Personally, I think it's too much work. Too much work. It's too much work. I was president in college of my environmental club, and that was too much work in college, much less for being president of Rotaract or Rotary or something like that. I just feel like it's too much work for me. I probably not mature enough, old enough yet, but personally, I leave that for the people to do.
But Onicia, do you not think that if you're president and have a good team around you, that it would help you?
Yes, but I don't know.
So Melissa has her hand up, but before we get to Melissa, I want to ask Anicia again, and this for anyone here. Do you understand what the role of the president is? A lot of persons may just look at the president as the leader of the club and have to do every single thing. But the president's job is to utilize their team around them and get things done to their team by inspiring, motivating, and pushing the team as well and developing them along the way.
On that note, Mario, I'm seeing a comment from Kimberly here, President Kimberly, where it said it will be easier when you delegate. I had the same sentiments. I didn't want the post, but with a supportive team, your journey is amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with that comment. Kimberly,
Yes.
you hit it right on the head.
Yes.
Onicia, I will be so honest with you. In my term as president, I hated it. And I had to take a step back and say to myself, what would I want this to be? Reverse the position. It means that you're going to have to plan. Sit and plan your year out. Look at the goals that you want to achieve. Look at the targets you want to achieve and set it out. Part of the difficulty at my time in the press, we were changing financials, and our country legislation made it a bit difficult for NGOs to access their funds. Sometimes we had to be innovative with getting funding and essentially making the right connections. What I'm going to say from my experience, planning is key. You would always know who you could depend on. You need your right winger, you need your left winger, right? You're gonna need those people who you can depend on. And sometimes it means you may be the president, but you may not have that good connection with another member. But you see your left and your right wing, talk to Candace so she could get X, Y, and Z done now. See what is the problem, let's see how we can motivate. And in that way, you get things done. Also, be open to criticism. Always be able to ask persons what you like, what you don't like. Would you prefer doing this? Would you prefer doing that? And be mindful that you can assign things to persons. And sometimes in assigning, you may have to come on board to coach, to chair, and to navigate. Be open to your presidency, open-minded about your time as a president, and don't give up. Despair is there, but that too has its place. Be driven, and your presidency term will be excellent.
Dwayne, I'm gonna say to you, to add to that, Onicia, don't choose the best people for the job, and the best people may not be your friends. The best people will be people who want exactly what you want, to make the best out of their club, right? when you choose friends, it's hard as the president to tell friends you're doing foolishness. You're not helping me. So you gotta be with people who are willing to take criticism. When I was president in my club, I had a Rotarian who called me every single day at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
President Sonia, how can I help you today? How are you doing? And he said, you know, there are some days that nobody wants to do anything and the president has to do it. He says, if no one wants to do it, the president must achieve, because at the end of the day, it's the president's year that's going to be affected. And I had instances during my presidency where I thought, my God, why are these people failing me all the time? Why can't I just leave adults? Because here we are, volunteers volunteers that we are we're big people in business, but we can't get something done in our Rotary Club because it's egos, and you got to massage people's egos, and you got to make sure that you don't step on this person, because it's this volunteer thing don't really work. When you're paying people, it is a serious thing versus volunteers. So step outside and choose people who are the right people for your team, and you will definitely succeed. Dwayne, your comments were spot on, and Kimberly has great advice. She's saying don't underestimate your board members.
There's also a comment here from Louis that I think a question actually.
Yes, a question.
Really a pertinent question here. Before getting to the question, what I want to mention also to you guys, we always have the easiest time in talking about the bad parts of stuff and how it was this hard and this tough, but word of mouth is the biggest marketing tool. My background is in sales, and I can tell you I can talk one-on-one to people, and we always talk about some of the worst things, but we need to also highlight to our members, our board members, our friends, the great parts about being a president, the great things about seeing persons that you've come up with, who've changed, who've graduated, who've leveled up, you've gone the extra mile. That is the things you need to do to sell to your members as well, to let them know presidency is not all bad. There's some really great parts that you want to step into presidency and you want to achieve. You want to have that impact, that influence. You want to be able to affect positive change in your communities all around. And getting into now to Lewis's question, the way to get that team evolved is to buy into them as much as you're asking them to buy into you. Be invested in their development and their growth and what they're trying to achieve. See where common ground can be made with what goals you both have and how you can guide them along. Inspiring and investing in your team members helps to get them to evolve and grow much more than you would have seen them when they first came in. I hope that makes sense for you guys.
And I want to add the last point. Vision is important, because the vision that you have for yourself, the vision that you have for your team, always be able to share that vision and to motivate them to succeed. And that was something that was important in my term, and it made the experience a lot more enjoyable. Right? So for any of the Rotaractors out there, yes, it is frightening the first time, but I tell you, plan, have vision, smooth sailing.
Thank you, Dwayne. And guys, I know we're having a very good discussion, but we have just about 4 minutes left. So I would just like to ask a question. So those persons, especially that would have served as president, what is one thing that you would tell a Rotaract? I know we have a lot of Rotarians on the call out. So what is one thing or what advice you would tell a Rotaractor or even a Rotarian who don't want to take up that leadership position to get them to step into that position? One word, in one word, if you have to do it in one word.
Vision.
Vision, I like.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, excellent.
Communication.
Passion. I'm seeing Melissa, you're saying passion. Yes.
Mario said communication.
I honestly don't have one word. I just have one thing that I usually use is do the thing that scares you the most. That really will show your growth, because honestly, a lot of things that I would have been successful at are things that I didn't want to do at all. So that's definitely something.
That's well said, Kimberly. And I saw that Melissa placed in the chat, we need to create the atmosphere where people aren't afraid to take on the experience. Intimidated as it may seem, it's an experience to have. And I would say indeed, because I didn't want to be president either when I was in Rotaract, and I served 3 times as president, and now I'm going to be serving as president in Rotary. And it's an experience that that will last for a lifetime. It will help you to grow. It will help you to contribute back to your club, and not only your club, your country, but the district and Rotary as a whole. So just as Kimberly said, do the things that you're afraid to do. All right.
Hi guys, just to mention, I don't want us to be caught off guard by other members coming in, because the other breakout room should be closing and wrapping up as well. So let's get our presentations done.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that.
Anissa, you have those points, and Dwayne, you presenting, you know the 2 things that we presenting on, right?
Yes, I am ready.
Awesome.
Awesome stuff.
Those are
Dwayne, just add
leaders.
communication to your list, please. Remember, communication is key, is king, is the best thing you can have.
Right. So before everybody else comes back into the group, I would just like to say a big thank you to DG Sonia and DR Mario for leading us in this discussion, and to all of the Rotaractors and Rotarians that would have participated. We could not have done it without you. So enjoy the rest of the session.
Thanks, Cindy.
Great job.